Salve cantanti and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Le Nozze di Figaro, Volume 1 of the Repertoire Series. If you want to work with this opera very closely and very carefully, consider checking out my volume on Le Nozze di Figaro. I have a book which I've created, and in it you will find the literal translation of the text, a careful analysis of specific arias and duets, and the sextet, the very important sextet, and as well as these elements, I also offer you some performance considerations and what I believe is the correct, the musically informed and linguistically informed interpretation of the aria. So if that sounds interesting, check the link down below. Now, let's pick up where we left off last time. So last time, the last thing we had here is guarda un poco se potriasi star meglio in altro loco. Okay, so Susanna is not very comfortable being in that room, and Figaro doesn't understand why. And he tries to explain to her that, well, as we're about to see here, it's a pretty good room to be in. It's nice, and it's also very practical. So let's listen to the beginning, okay? Let's go. That's exactly the point. And now, in the same way, so many things going on here. Pay attention. So, se a caso madama la notte ti chiama, din din, din din, in due passi da quella puoi gir. Okay, so what is Figaro trying to say here? Well, this room is very close to the countess's and the count's chambers. And that's useful. Why? Because should the countess need you at night, she'll just ring a little bell and you'll be very close and you can just go and help and serve her. In the same way, should the count need me at any point, don don, I'll hear the bell and I can go. Now, what is interesting is, there we go, din din, it's a very high F, but then, so in order to imitate the bell, and then, so madama, she's a woman, she's elegant, she is refined, din din, I mean, it's an octave higher, and then, don don. So notice that it's the same note. It's an F and it's an F, but there's an octave between them. Don don. It's not meant to be very nice. Whereas the first one, din din, don don. So we already understand that the two characters are different, and we haven't seen the countess, we haven't seen the count yet, but this little detail here already helps us understand that they're not the same. And also the accompaniment is different. Din din, pam pam. I've already forgotten what the instruments are, which imitate the dun pam. But the second time, when it's the count, it's don don. I think it's the bassoons, which have a very characteristically darker timbre. Now, essentially, this room is very good. What's the problem, Susanna? Well, Susanna says, così se il mattino il caro continuo, din din, din din, e ti manda 3 miglia lontan, din din, don don. Already, we should be worried here, because, so se il caro continuo, this the wonderful Count sends you 3 miles away, ti manda 3 miglia lontan. Yes, if he does that, and we'll see what happens now, but before that, il caro continuo, din din, din din. It's very charming, but it's trying to show exactly the opposite, that it's not charming, it's dangerous. Din din, don don. Don don a mia porta il diavolo porta, ed ecco in 3 salti Susanna pian pian, Susanna pian pian, Susanna pian pian, pian pian. It keeps going on. So, what do we mean here? Well, Susanna is saying, well, yes, that's good and all, but the fact that we are close to their chambers also means that they are close to our chambers. And what Susanna is trying to tell Figaro, very indirectly, is that the Count might have an appetite for Susanna. And then immediately, Susanna says, and should the devil bring him to my door, and you're 3 miles away, so you're nowhere close and near to protect me. And then Susanna says, ed ecco in 3 salti, Susanna pian pian, Susanna pian pian. She's immediately interrupted by Figaro, who is taken aback. So I think this is where he understands that, oh no, something wrong is about to happen. And then ascolta in 3 salti, din din, don don. And then a little bit of a dramatic change here. Ascolta, se udir bram il resto, se udir bram il resto, discaccia i sospetti che torto mi fan. So she warns him, if you want to hear the rest of this story, send away and get rid of all suspicion that you might have about me, that I might not be loyal to you. That's the point. And then Figaro responds, udir bramo il resto, udir bramo il resto, i dubbi sospetti gelare mi fan. So notice that it's in the lower registers here anyway. Not anyway, but we're getting towards the very low register. So this is an A, right? It's pretty low, yes. For a bass baritone, you still have a few notes left, but it's still low. So the fact that he's using this low register also means that it's a bit, it's worrisome. It's almost as if he's talking to himself a bit as well. And i dubbi, i sospetti, gelare mi fan. My suspicions and my worries make me freeze, literally, but they worry me. I'm scared right now. I'm very, very worried about what you're going to say. Then, discaccia i sospetti, discaccia i sospetti, gelare mi fan. Pam pararam pam pam, pam pararim pam pam, paparabi papam. So, it's a cliffhanger. So, let's see what happens in the recitativo right after that. Orbene, ascolta e taci. And then Figaro, parla, che c'è di nuovo? So, okay, listen up, Figaro, but hush. And he says, okay, speak. What is it? What's going on? Il signor Conte, stanco di andar cacciando le straniere bellezze forestiere. This is incredibly important. The Count is sick and tired of going for the beautiful foreign girls. So that immediately tells us that he is not loyal to the Countess. He's going after other women. That's incredibly important here. Vuole ancora nel castello ritentar la sua sorte. He wants to try his luck again, but in the castle. Né già di sua consorte bada bene. Né già di sua consorte bada bene, appetito gli viene. So, Susanna is telling Figaro, and mind you, he is not interested in his wife. So she tells us this directly. Né già di sua consorte appetito gli viene. So he is not interested in his wife. Figaro justifiably says, e di chi dunque? Who is he interested in? Who is he? Who does bring his appetite, as we said in Italian? Well, e di chi dunque? Della tua Susannetta. Di te? Con sorpresa. Surprise, because di te, it's you he wants. And Susanna says, di me medesima. E dà speranza che al nobil suo progetto utilissima sia tal vicinanza. She just says it directly. So, in order for him to basically have his way with me, whatever that means, he thinks that it's very useful for the two chambers to be so close to one another. And that's the problem. That's why Susanna is so worried. Figaro says, bravo, tiriamo avanti. Wonderful, let's see how this develops. Queste le grazie sono, questa la cura che gli prende di te, della tua sposa. O guarda un po' che carità pelosa, chetati or mi viene il meglio, Don Basilio, il mio maestro di canto. Okay, not much going on here. We just introduced Basilio, who basically is obsequious, and he always is very respectful and does what the Count wants him to do. And then, Susanna, il diritto feudale. Il diritto feudale, which is supposed to be le droit du seigneur, which was that on a servant's wedding night, the master of the household is the one to engage in intimate relations with the wife with the would-be wife on that very night, and not the husband, which is absolutely atrocious. And then, this is very important, pay attention here, come? Ne feudi suoi non l'ha il conto abolito? Hasn't the Count abolished this right, says Figaro, which is what we find out that did happen. And Susanna says, ben ora pentito. Yeah, he's made up his mind. And it seems that he wants to have his way with me. Bravo, mi piace, che caro signor Conte. Yeah, how wonderful, dear Count. And then we hear din din, we hear a little bell. Chi suona, says Figaro, la contessa. And Susanna says, addio, Figaro bello, bye, Figaro, my beautiful Figaro. Stay strong, my love. And Susanna says, and you keep your wits about you, cervello. And then we have one of the most beautiful and one of the most well-known arias of the opera. So after having seen what goes on, Figaro goes on to explain how he's going to plot to overthrow, or not overthrow the Count, but ruin his plan and bring back justice. But that's for the next video. So this was it. We went through quite a bit. I think it's very important to read through the recitativo as well, because especially in Mozart, the real, well, not always, but very often, the real action takes place during the recitativo and not during the actual arias themselves. The arias are basically You place a spotlight on a specific moment and you make it into something very beautiful and you highlight it essentially. But here, basically in what, a minute and a half's worth of recitativo, we basically get the entire backdrop and the backstory of the play. So if you miss this, you have absolutely no clue what's going on. So, as I was saying, this was it. If you're interested in working with the material directly, specifically Le Nozze di Figaro, I have created a volume. It's part of the Repertoire Series. In it, you will find 12 of the most important arias and duets and the sextet of the entire opera. And in this volume, you will find literal translation, an idiomatic translation of the text, an explanation of what is going on, an interpretation, performance considerations, the full score you can work with, and some context and vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation notes as well. So if you're interested, check the link down below. I'll be leaving it down below. And if you want to work on opera Italian more specifically and more generally as well, perhaps you want to work on the language itself, perhaps you want to work on pronunciation specifically, perhaps you want to work on a specific role and you need some guidance, check out my website. I offer one-to-one, completely customizable lessons for singers and music lovers alike. If you're interested, send me a message. That's all for today, and I'll be seeing you next time.